watched our What Sold video from last week, you know that we did not have the best week of sales because we had been out of town the week before and not listing as many items, and that always directly affects your sales. On eBay specifically, you really need to be consistently listing to ensure that your sales continue to roll. And we did not list a lot that week before, and so we definitely paid for it the next week. But we got back in town and started listing again, and our sales immediately increased. If you're new here, my name is Wendy and this is Nina's Jewels. My husband and I buy things at places like thrift stores, garage sales, anywhere we can find things to sell online and flip for a profit. If that's content you're interested in, you're in the right place. Let's go over what sold for the week of August 20th through 26th. The first thing that we sold was it was by the brand Fiji. It was a 4-inch red ceramic cowboy Santa Claus pepper shaker only. So we sold this as a replacement item. We got this out of the Goodwill bins. We paid 94 cents for it, and it sold on offer to buyer for $9.58. We are definitely noticing an increase in sales of especially Halloween items. We've sold the majority of the Halloween items out of our store, and Christmas items are also starting to pick up, so make sure if you have anything in your death pile to get it listed that's holiday themed. Just don't leave it sitting around. But just a side note, we sell holiday items all year long and we list them all year long. We don't wait to list them until fourth quarter, so that's just something to think about also. Some people do it differently. You do what works best for you, but I recommend listing holiday items all year long because you never know when somebody's looking for it. Next up was a vintage, the brand was Tozai, Tozai, Tozai. This was a yellow sports themed cassette player. I picked this up at an estate sale because it had a pair of Sony headphones attached to it, which we listed and they sold like the same day. But this came along with those headphones, so we went ahead and listed it. And this ended up selling on Mercari for $20 even on best offer. And we had paid just $2.50 for that at that estate sale. We cross-list by using List Perfectly, and if you're not cross-listing, it is something that you definitely want to consider because there are buyers on marketplaces like Mercari and Poshmark that may not be on eBay, so it does expose your items to a new audience. So if you want to check out List Perfectly, I do have a referral link in the description box below, and you can get 30% off of your first month of List Perfectly. Next up is a item that we got out of a bag of free merchandise that somebody was advertising on Nextdoor. They said, we just have a bunch of kids items. Most of them are new in package and they're available to the first person who wants to come pick them up. So we went and picked them up. We didn't pay anything for it. Most of it was stuff that didn't have like a really great sell-through rate, but there were some really random items in there, and it was definitely worth our time to drive over there and pick it up. And we've made lots of money on this free bag of items. This was something that was in that. This was a 2011 Shoulder Buddies Holiday Smarts figure called Flurry. And basically it was like a magnetized action figure kind of thing that you could put one magnet underneath your shirt and then it would hook the action figure or the shoulder buddy onto you. You could walk around with this little figure on your shoulder. A very unusual item, but this one sold. We had no cost associated with it, and it sold for $12.99. Next up was an item that was gifted to us to sell from a family member. This was a set of 6 Smith & Hawken, but this was the Target version of Smith & Hawken. These were 5 to 15-inch duck figurines, and they came in all different colors. A couple of them did have some damage. One of them had like a hairline crack on it, so we did disclose all of that. You'll see in the title where we put the word read, and that usually tells buyers that they need to make sure to go into your listing and read the description, because buyers are the worst. You cannot count on them always looking at the specific item details. So the more attention you can call to any defects, that will definitely help you from getting returns or complaints. But these, we did not have any cost with them because they were gifted to us, and these sold for a best offer, or actually an offer to buyer, of $99.98. Smith & Hawken is a brand that you want to be on the lookout for. especially the original Smith & Hawken, not the one that came from Target. Some of those items are very, very valuable and sell for a lot. Next up was a package of Everbuilt black and gold adhesive peel and stick numbers that you would put on like a mailbox or something like that to indicate your house number. We found these at a garage sale where we were getting really good prices. Since they were new in the package, we went ahead and picked them up. We paid just 25 cents for them, and these sold for $9.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was a vintage lot of 2 Powerpuff Girl action figures. I listed them also as cake toppers because they had flat bases on them, so you could use them as a cupcake or cake topper. This one included Blossom and Bubbles. These came from a church rummage sale. We paid just 50 cents in total for both of them, and we lotted them together and sold them on offer to buyer for $11.98. Powerpuff Girl items sell really well. The vintage stuff sells really well, especially. Next up was a lot of 8 issues from January to August 2000 of Popular Mechanics magazine. We got these at a garage sale, and at this particular garage sale, we walked up and they said everything is free, that we're just trying to get rid of it. So we had no cost associated with this. We got a lot of stuff from that garage sale, but we only picked up the items that we knew would sell. And they had a lot of Popular Mechanics magazines, and we've listed a bunch of them in lots. This is the first lot to sell. These sold for $22.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was a men's black and green stripe Apartment 9 brand button-up dress shirt. We got this out of a big bag. Actually, it was 6 big trash bags of clothes that we got from someone on Facebook Marketplace. I paid $50 for everything in bulk, and our cost of items, our per item cost broke down to just 67 cents. We have sold a lot of stuff from that pickup, and we still have a few things left, but we've sold out of the majority of it. This shirt sold for $13.58. That was on offer to buyer. Next up was one of my old clothing items that I didn't wear anymore. This was the brand Max Studio, and it was a black cap sleeve asymmetric look jumpsuit. I got this a long time ago, probably at Marshall's or TJ Maxx. I wore it a lot, definitely got my use out of it, and decided I didn't want it anymore. This sold for $28 even on best offer. Next up was a huge lot of 145 various plastic and rubber animal figures. It included marine animals, safari animals, farm animals. These were animals that we collected from different thrift store toy bags, different bulk lots that we had picked up at different places like garage sales, storage units, and we had just continued to lot all of those together, and then when we had a really, really big lot, we decided to list it. Our out-of-pocket cost on these was $7.46, and this entire bulk lot sold for $49.99. So lots of good profit on that. We will, like I've got a big Lego lot going on over there. I've got maybe a lot of different medical themed toys. So when we find stuff in toy bags that might not be worth listing individually, we will just start a bag of stuff that has that particular theme. And then when we get enough of it, we list it. Next up was a vintage 1970s Sanger Harris. You know it's vintage if it says Sanger Harris because they're not around anymore. This was a men's small nylon diamond print disco shirt. I mean, this was very 1970s. It had the big flare collar and everything. We got this at a garage sale where there was a bunch of different vintage clothing, and we paid $5 for this. This shirt sold for $79.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was one of the Build-A-Bear outfits that we got from the big Build-A-Bear treasure box that we found at a garage sale. This one was a really cute green velvet leprechaun St. Patrick's Day outfit, and it included all the different parts and pieces that went with that outfit, so you could really deck your bear out in a cute little outfit. We paid just $1 for this, and this one sold for $25.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Gymshark men's gray short sleeve t-shirt, had the logo on it. Gymshark is a brand to be on the lookout for. It sells super fast, but don't pay too much for it because some of it is just doesn't have a lot of, it just doesn't sell for very high. We got this shirt at a garage sale for $2.50, and this one sold super fast for $15 even on best offer. Next up was a Free People women's black and gold leaf motif embroidery tie back mini dress. It was a really cute dress, but it was size 0, but it still sold super fast. I was surprised at how quickly it sold given that it was such a small size. We got this at a garage sale for $2, and this dress sold for $31.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a really good sale. This is definitely an item to be on the lookout for. The brand was Homestead Hearth, and this was a quilt block of the month program. And the theme of this was Civil War tribute. And somebody had taken all of the loose leaf pages that come in this set, and they had put them into plastic sheet protectors and then put them all in a binder. So it made it really hard to know what it was at the thrift store because it was just a very generic looking item. But my husband's really good at looking at everything and finding things that other people might miss, and he found this. We paid just $1.08 for it at the thrift store, and this sold for $95.98 on offer to buyer. It sold super fast, so be on the lookout for these quilt of the month pattern booklets, but they're actually not sold in booklets. They're usually sold in just a pack of loose leaf pages. Next up was another item that we got from that garage sale where everything was free. This was a book called Informal Geometry. It was a textbook from 1992. We sold this for our full asking price super fast, like within a few days, of $19.99. Next up was something that we got at the thrift store. This was a 1987, it was called Cassette College, How to Achieve Financial Freedom. But when we got it home and looked at it, we realized that actually it did not have tape 1 and 2. It either had 2 of tape 1 or 2 of tape 2. So we did disclose that right in the title, incomplete, and specifically described what was incomplete about it. Amazingly, it still sold. That's why we list everything. We had paid just 40 cents for this, and this sold for $10.48 on offer to buyer. Next up was a pair of Vans Boys Youth black ripstop cargo skater shorts. These were new with the tags. We got these at a garage sale. We paid $2 for them, and these sold for $24.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was a Panasonic cordless phone charger replacement AC power adapter. We will pick up branded power adapters if you find them in the bins or at a garage sale because people are sometimes looking for the specific branded one to replace theirs. And so that's an item that can sell really, really well, although sometimes it's long tail. Most of the time it's long tail. This item we got out of the bins. We paid 67 cents for it, and this sold for $10.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was a really cute avocado dog costume for an extra small or small dog. The brand was Pet Shop. I actually got this last year or maybe even the year before at Walgreens on clearance. And for some reason, it just would not sell for us. So we finally accepted a low offer of $11, best offer on that, got it out of our store, and we're just glad to get rid of it. But that was a really cute dog costume. Next up was a pair of Wrangler men's carpenter jean shorts. We found these at a church rummage sale. We paid just $2 for them, and these sold for $21 even on best offer. Next up was a Hurley men's long sleeve mosaic spell out t-shirt. We got this at a garage sale. We paid just $1 for it, and this shirt sold for $12.50 on best offer. Next up was a vintage Polaroid land camera. It had the strap. We sold it as is. You'll see it says right in the title, sold as is, untested, because we did not have any film to put in it or anything like that to make sure the camera worked. But vintage Polaroids can be valuable. This one was not as valuable as some other ones, but it did sell. We paid only 28 cents for this. We got it in a storage unit, and this camera sold for $20 even on best offer. Next up was a 16-inch red satin Chinese knot ceramic pendant tassel. So, just a decorative tassel that you could hang on a doorknob or something like that. And it was just a really pretty item. We found it at the thrift store. My husband just had a feeling it would sell, and it did sell relatively quickly. We paid 51 cents for that, and it sold for a offer to buyer of $13.58. Next up was two items that sold to the same buyer. These were both bound books that had National Geographic magazines in it. So the first one was volume 38, which included all of the magazines from July to December 1920 in a bound book. And then the next one was another bound book, volume 35, that included January through June 1919. We actually were gifted these by a family member to sell, so we had no cost, and these books together sold for a best offer of $38 even. Next up was a vintage 1957 hardcover book. It was a children's book called The Three Billy Goats Gruff by Marcia Brown. I found this at a garage sale, paid just $1 for it, and this book sold for $31.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was a Halloween costume. Like I said, Halloween items are selling really well. This one was by Ruby's, and it was a kid's size Stranger Things pink 11 dress, the costume of the character 11. And I don't think this costume had ever been worn, but we did list it in excellent used condition because we couldn't tell for sure, but it did have all the original packaging with it. We got this at a garage sale for $5, and this item sold for $21 even on best offer. Next up was an Apple iPod Nano. It was a third generation 4 gigabyte model. It worked, but it did not hold a charge. We actually got this out of a storage unit, so we probably, technically paid about 20 cents for it, but we did not have the right kind of cord to charge this to see if it worked for a very long time, so I had already rolled my cost of goods into all the rest of the stuff that we had gotten out of the unit. So I actually have this on our spreadsheet at $0. But we finally found a cord to charge it with, found out that it works, but only works when it's plugged in, so we disclosed all of that, and it sold very quickly for $19.99. That was our full asking price. Next up was something else we got from that Build-A-Bear lot that we purchased. This was kind of a lot of the leftovers that we didn't have the entire, outfit necessarily, but I had parts and pieces of it, and I put all of the items like that were holiday themed together and sold them as a lot. So this was a 9-piece various Halloween clothes and accessories lot. And we paid $1 for that at a garage sale. This sold for $20.78 on offer to buyer. Next up was something that we found at a garage sale. It was new in the package. It was a computer-related item, but we didn't really specifically know what it was for. We just knew it was something that went with a computer, and it was new in the package, so we took a risk on it. It was called a Kingwin SATA to IDE bridge board adapter. I have no idea what that does, but it sold. And we had only paid 50 cents for that, and it sold for our full asking price of $12.99. Next up was another Build-A-Bear item, but this one we got at a different garage sale, and this is something definitely to be on the lookout for. This was a 16-inch Pokemon Dragonite, and it had a sound chip, I don't know what you would call that, a sound box. It had a sound box in it, and that sound box still worked. But it did have a significant amount of staining, especially on the base of it, so we did disclose that. I think if you find one of these in really good condition, it can sell for closer to $75. But ours had all that staining on it, so we did list it for a little bit less and accepted a discounted rate on it. We got this at a garage sale for $3, and this sold for $44.98 on offer to buyer. Next up was one of my daughter's shirts that she didn't wear anymore, and she decided she didn't want it. This was a Blues Brothers women's On a Mission from God t-shirt. It had like a velour applique on it. It was a cool t-shirt. So I had actually purchased this for my daughter at a garage sale a very, very, very long time ago, so we probably had very little cost on it. But it sold for our full asking price of $12.99. Next up was a brand new in box DeLonghi Nespresso coffee and espresso maker. We got this at a garage sale for $40. It was new and unopened, and this sold for $140 on best offer. Next up was a 1966 hardcover book called The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. We found this at a garage sale. We paid just 25 cents for it, and this book sold through our book sale for $12.74, which was our full price minus our book discount. Next up was a BCBG Max Azria women's knit bandage skirt. And this was actually gifted to me to sell by a family member, so I had no cost. I was really surprised at how much this was worth. These bandage skirts, I don't know if it's a trending item, but it was selling for a lot. We actually got 2 bandage skirts from a family member, and we listed both of them. I think they've both sold. I can't remember. But this one sold for our full asking price of $39.99. Next up was a lot of 12 youth books called The Bad Guys by Aaron Blaby. We had all of the set 1 through 13 except book 5. If we had had book 5, this lot would have been significantly more valuable, but we were missing one. We paid $13 for these at a garage sale, which was too much. Maybe when I picked them up, I was thinking that we might try to wait and find book 5, but ultimately I decided I didn't want to wait on it, so we just went ahead and listed them. And these sold for $29.98 on offer to buyer. So I probably overpaid, but had we had that book 5, that would have significantly increased the value. Next up was another Halloween item. This was an orange and black velvet wrapped wire whimsical Halloween cat decor. It was tall. It was like 25 inches tall. We found this in the Goodwill bins. We paid just 61 cents for it, and this sold for a best offer of $28. Next up was a pair of SAS women's 5 medium, which is a very small size, navy free time leather lace-up comfort shoes. These did take a little while to sell, but 5 is a very small size. That's probably why. We got these at a garage sale for $3, and these sold for $36.68 on offer to buyer. Next up was an 8-piece lot of infant boys 18 to 24 months summer clothing lot. We found all of these clothes in a storage unit, lotted them together, and listed them. So we paid just 24 cents for these, and these sold for $29.99. This particular storage unit was full of a lot of kids' clothes. We lotted most of them together, and this might be the last lot that sold that we had to sell, because that ended up being, definitely worth our time. It was a little bit time consuming, but we made a lot of money on those kids' clothes. Next up was a J. Crew women's navy embroidered eyelet cardigan sweater. We found this at a garage sale for $2, and it sold for $35 even on best offer. Next up was a lot of 10 Nintendo Wii games. We got them at multiple places. Most of these came from the Goodwill bins, but we got some that were actually our old games that we didn't use anymore. We got some from a garage sale. These just came from a bunch of different random places. We lotted them all together, and they sold for $39.98 on offer to buyer, and our cost of goods on those was $5.18. Next up was a Texas Instruments TI Graph Link for a graphing calculator. So this was a cord that you could plug into your calculator and then attach it to your computer. We found this at that garage sale where everything was free, and this one sold very, very quickly for $12.99. Next up was a cardigan sweater by the brand Giddy Up Glamour, not a brand I had ever heard of, but we found it in the Goodwill bins and I wanted to give it a shot. It took a very long time to sell, not a brand I would pick up again. But this was a Southwestern style cardigan, and we had paid $1.33 for it at the bins that day, and it sold ultimately for $14.38 on offer to buyer. Next up was an NFL team apparel New York Jets Racerback tank top. It was new with the tags. We got this at a garage sale for just $1, and it sold for our full asking price of $17.99. Next up was a 2017 Sonic Wacky Pack Transformers sticker. So this would have come in a Sonic kids meal. This actually came in one of my kids meals a very long time ago, probably in 2017. And we had it in our store for a super long time, and it did not sell. Sometimes Sonic toys will sell really fast, but this particular one didn't. So we had no cost associated with it because it was a free kids meal item. and it ultimately sold for $8.99. But, you know, this is not something I would recommend picking up. Next up was a lot of 2 Magna tiles. This one included a red vehicle and a blue tile. We listed them as replacement pieces. We found these in a thrift store toy bag. Our cost of goods was 26 cents, and these sold for $14.99. I will mention that there is a brand similar to this called Magnetics, and those items are, they have been recalled by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. So if you find any Magnetics toys, which is similar to a Magnetile, don't list the Magnetics, just throw them away. They're dangerous. But this brand, Magnetiles, is safe. It's never been recalled or anything like that, so you can list it. And when I researched this brand, it seemed like it had a good sell-through rate, so if I ever see these at a garage sale or something like that, I'm probably going to consider picking them up. Next up was a Stanley 40-ounce Terrazzo Confetti Adventure Quencher insulated tumbler. We found this at a garage sale. It was used, but it was practically new. It looked like maybe it had only been used once. We paid $20 for it. These are really hot right now, so I knew it would sell for a lot, and it sold for $74. That was on best offer. Next up was a Ashland brand, which is a brand that comes from Michaels. This was a 12-inch resin Halloween clock in the shape of a witch's hat. It was a really cute clock. We paid $8.65 for it at a thrift store, just had a feeling it would sell, and this sold very, very quickly for $49.99, and I believe that was a best offer. Next up was an item that we found at a thrift store. It was actually on a Lala Loopsy doll, which we just donated, but I purchased that doll specifically to get this outfit. And this was a vintage 1980s Cabbage Patch Kids yellow gingham sunsuit. And if you ever see one of these, a sunsuit is definitely something that's desired by Cabbage Patch Kid collectors. The one that we had did have some stains on it, so we disclosed that right in the title. But we had paid just $2.16 for that doll with the outfit on it at the thrift store, and this item sold very, very quickly for $23 on best offer. Next up, I'm going to go over all of the collectible cards that sold from my husband's personal collection. This week we only sold low value cards, meaning cards valued at $10 or under, and we sold a total of 4 cards for a total dollar amount of $12.64. So that wraps up everything that sold for the week of August 20th through 26th. Let's go over all of the totals. This week we had 53 sales for an average sale price of $29.08. Our sales totaled $1,571.05, and that made for a net profit of $796.64. Much better than last week, but not quite at our goal of making $1,000 net profit for the week. So we're hoping that things are going to continue to pick up as we get closer and closer to fourth quarter. Let me know how your sales are doing. Let me know what your favorite item was that we sold this week. If you enjoyed this video, please let us and let YouTube know by hitting that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, we would be really grateful if you would hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on so you can be kept informed of all of our latest content. Thanks so much for joining, and we will catch you on the flip side.